Well, I've found time to do a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Would have been out sooner, but there was a bit of a stumbling block with that Geeks and Gamers live stream trying to raise money. Yeah. But anyway, the movie was the thing. Yeah, so I'll try to separate that, even though I got to admit it sure took the wind out of my sails and excitement for all these years wanting to see it. And nevertheless, I've got to be objective on these matters, you know? So the first question I imagine is, well, is it better than the theatrical release? Yeah, you knew it would be long before I saw it, so it is. Now, why is it? Well, it's much longer, and that's better. Right off the bat, it's in keeping in tone with the other two films, and by other two I mean Zack's films. You know, of course, you had Suicide Squad in the mix there, which actually, in some elements, you know, a look and feel of it seemed to kind of try to fit in with that. But anyway, with Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, this movie fits right in that, as it picks up right where Batman vs. Superman left off with the death of Superman, and it's recreated here for that. And the idea here is, you know, Superman's dying screams activated the mother boxes. Now, this is one of the things that, and going forward, this was already leaked out, so I knew that was sort of the jumping off point for this story. And I thought, well, wait a minute, one of the boxes had been activated to save Cyborg. You know, Victor Stone, his father, he managed to swoop in and steal that thing because he was desperate to save his son. You know, I mean, when you see him, it's like, good Lord, how is he keeping him alive? You know, and so the mother box creates the cyborg suit or body, really, for Victor Stone. And it's sort of this thing. I thought, you know, I would have thought they would have done it to where the third mother box is Cyborg, and they were, you know, they wanted Cyborg, and that could have been an interesting thing about it. But anyway, the idea here is the death of Superman activated the boxes, and they say, oh, they don't have that Superman guy anymore. Let's go in and take it over, you know. So these ancient mother boxes, which look nothing like the actual mother boxes from the comics, and I suppose if they had the opportunity to expand on this version of the New Gods, it'd probably say, well, these were ancient mother boxes. And I thought that the element that, you know, Steppenwolf's mother was in there. And I thought, oh, they're rewriting it to where Steppenwolf and Darkseid were brothers instead of uncle and nephew. Because Steppenwolf was Darkseid's uncle, and his sister was Darkseid's mother, who was the original ruler of Apocalypse. And she was a cruel woman. She actually killed Darkseid's wife because she wanted him to marry someone else for, you know, the political reasons. And so that's why Darkseid is really pissed off. But anyway, I thought, oh, that could be setting up that there. But no, that's not in it at all. That was a Joss Whedon thing. And I guess, well, probably more Jeff Johns trying to root it more into comic book origins rather than the distance that is created here. So I guess that was the objective. Steppenwolf himself, of course, yes, looks much better. He's more fearsome and monstrous looking. He's a more formidable villain in this, but best of all, and this was this to me was one of the worst parts of the theatrical version, that, you know, fear drew him to the earth because everyone was scared now that Superman was dead. World War II and World War One, no, they weren't. That didn't create enough fear. The Black Plague, no. The Crusades, nah, that didn't create any fear. I mean, you know, there's just tons of stuff throughout history that you think would be enough to draw them in, because this is, you know, the initial invasion that happened thousands of years ago and all that. So here, his motivation is that he's on the outs with the family, over at Apocalypse, and he's trying to earn his way back in, and he's doing the dirty work for Darkseid, and he's coming to collect these mother boxes. And even at the outset, he doesn't even realize that the Earth is the place to find the anti-life equation. The mother boxes that he has at that point give him a vision that that's what the Earth is, and these weird designs that burns into the ground apparently is the anti-life equation. And I guess Darkseid originally did it, but they didn't. He forgot which planet he was on. I'm not certain. From his initial attack thousands of years ago. But anyway, once he discovers it, then it becomes more serious. And they want this planet. So that sets it up for the future Justice League films as to Darkseid's motivation. So another great point here is, of course, we get Darkseid, and the story just works so much better with him there. And I guess some of the CGI is it looks video gamey and whatnot, but I keep coming to this point. The same thing with the Wonder Woman film and her battle with Ares and all that. It's like, well, what's a god from space supposed to look like? You wanted a guy in a suit? I don't know. But another surprise, I'd heard that Desaad was in it, and I thought they meant that, he would be standing around, maybe a couple of words to Darkseid or something, and that would be it. But no, he's in here a bit more than I expected, conversing with Steppenwolf, and that spells out Steppenwolf's story and his situation. And of course, with the 4 hours, every character has their day. They all get their moments and their story fleshed out and stuff like that, and so that's much better as far as the overall story here. And did it need to be 4 hours? I don't think so. One of the things that sticks out is this is starting to drag, and it's kind of weird, was the Aquaman scene where Bruce Wayne goes to recruit him, and Aquaman's not interested, and he swims away. Well, the little village that he's been helping, and they're all grateful for him, they all start singing a song, and this woman picks up his shirt and sniffs it while she's singing this song, and the song goes on a little too long, in my opinion, because it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, it was obvious the town is very grateful to Aquaman, and they all like him, and they want to protect him from this outsider coming in. And probably, and more to the point, don't want him taking him away. But of course, Aquaman does join the team later, and so you get stuff like that. But it's just like it's like it's unnecessary because it's already established. So he didn't really need to do it, and I guess he thought it was cool, and how much they're very worshipful almost of Aquaman, but what have you. The Flash, Zack Snyder, he doesn't always hit a home run. He can hit them. Henry Cavill is Superman. He hit him. And Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman. He did that. But the Flash has got to be the weakest of him. Possibly Lex Luthor being another way of casting, if not the writing of Luthor. I think I'm forgetting his name, the actor. Could probably have done a pretty good Luthor in that version of him being a smaller, weaker, kind of polar opposite in every way of Superman type deal. But they went too much for he's psychotic and all that stuff, and that's not Luthor. But the Flash, when I saw the theatrical, everybody hated him and stuff, and I thought, well, for the context of the film, I thought he did all right. The jokes were way too much, and thankfully, those are pretty much all gone. He's still the comic relief character here, but it's not painful to the point that is stupid. The one of the lines about brunch and all that crap that Whedon forced in there, that was awful. And so that's all gone. But the thing about it is, I don't know what the deal is. It's like the Grant Gustin Flash is so much better at running. And maybe they thought that looked silly for him to be so sped up running and stuff, but it doesn't. You got the lightning effects and everything, and they got the lightning effects here. I don't know why they do this where he's, I don't know, like he's just floating, you know. It's he's always in slow motion, you know. It's like the old $6 Million Man trick, and it doesn't work. It's really bad. You know, despite the fact that there's some cool things about it. There's scenes where they do the resurrection scene of Superman. In some ways, it's similar to the theatrical version, but it's very different how they do it and how they get there. And also, it's a very important point that they wiped out of there. I don't know why, especially since they intended the Flash movie to involve time travel and stuff like that, even back then. And this is an important scene because Barry basically he reverses time. It's brief, but he does it, and for this thing to work and to resurrect Superman. The battle between Superman and the Justice League, more or less the same. It's just all the the mustache scenes are obviously not there, and he doesn't do the "Do you bleed" thing with Batman. Lois shows up because she sees what's happening. She wasn't brought in by Batman. She and kind of the same idea. She calms Superman down and brings him back to reality, and he, you know, his mind's all messed up after what just happened. You know, his resurrection, and he goes off back to, you know, the Kent farm and everything, and meets his mom and stuff like that. And still, one of the coolest scenes in that fight is, despite the misgivings about the Flash, it's a cool scene where he's trying to run in and get behind to help out the others, or they're being pretty much completely beaten by Superman. And Superman sees him coming, you know, and it's a good scene, and the Flash is like, no one's ever done that, because that's his thing, you know, when he's going super fast, you can't see him. Everyone else is standing still, but Superman, he's almost as fast as the Flash. So there you go. So the Cyborg story, and Cyborg's introduced pretty quickly. I mean, of course, you saw him briefly, his origin in Batman vs Superman, but here he's, you know, moping about at home. Doesn't know how to deal with his situation, and he hears the scream, or rather, the mother box is in his closet, and it's activated by the scream, and so you see him there, and you get more details of his story. It's pretty similar to the theatrical release, but he gets to do more stuff here, and he's integral to it with his projections and whatnot, showing them, and he discovers more of the history of the mother box and how the one that the human tribes got. The Nazis find it in World War II, and then it gets captured by the Allies, and that's how it ends up eventually at Star Labs, which is something that it was supposed to be weaved through the other movies. Wonder Woman was supposed to mention it, and I would have thought that would have been a much better MacGuffin, if you will, for Suicide Squad, but I don't know, it just didn't do it. But anyway, so you get that, plus they kept seeing the scene where you see Bruce Wayne looking at an image of Superman, and well, that's Cyborg projecting that. But when they come to the conclusion of what the mother box is capable of doing, and what it did for Cyborg and everything, you know, it can transmute matter. So they realize, you know, we could probably use that to resurrect Superman, and they understood that the Apocalypse and Darkseid's people, they were wary of attacking the Earth with Superman being there. And so they realized, yeah, we got our team, but we're going to need Superman. And they understood that they could do the resurrection. During this, once again, because Cyborg is able to communicate with the mother box, and he keeps getting these visions from it, and he gets a vision of the future of you see Superman apparently devastated. Obviously, I'm thinking this is well known that this is the death of Lois Lane, and Superman is broken and he's crying on his knees, and then Darkseid comes for him and puts his hand on his shoulder, and that's Darkseid taking him over and turning him evil. We see the death of Wonder Woman, or her funeral rather. Her mother is burning her corpse. We see Darkseid invade Atlantis with the Omega beams, and he kills Aquaman. And so that's the future that's coming. And of course, Cyborg is reacting that he's stunned, and he says, no. And then Barry says, go? Okay, he takes off. So at that moment, Cyborg, I would have thought, maybe we shouldn't be reviving Superman. Well, it was like Aquaman was saying, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe he was right. But that's how it happens. Now, Cyborg doesn't mention this later. I kind of thought that was odd. Maybe he should have. I mean, not maybe. Probably. Hey, we better watch this guy. And then you get the scene, of course, him meeting Alfred. He chooses the black suit. I remember hearing stuff that they said the reason he chose the black suit was because he didn't feel he had earned his real super suit yet, that he had to, earn his way back. I don't really see that. I saw that, he says, they brought me back. I need to find out why. Of course, they brought him back to help defend the Earth from yet another alien invasion. But the black suit in the comic books, with the death of Superman story, he comes back in this black suit at first. And I think the idea is that it was a suit that enabled him to absorb solar radiation even more than usual, and because he needed it to restore his powers. And there is a scene where Superman flies up into orbit and he bathes in the sunlight, but there's no mention of that. So I thought, well, that could have been a reason why he picked that one, because he needed it coming back from the dead, So he powers up to go fight Steppenwolf, and the battle is much better. It's it's kind of the similar outcome of the theatrical version, but it's much better. You get the scene where Batman gets a hold of the alien cannon, and that's pretty good. And Superman's arrival is, of course, sudden. It seems like all is lost, and Cyborg's about to be killed. There had been stories that he was going to get killed, and they were going to have to try to rebuild him, and that he'd be more machine, and I guess it'd be an arc where they had to restore his humanity. But no, he wasn't. He wasn't even torn apart like he was in the theatrical version. Superman saves him. The axe is coming down and it hits him, but it doesn't do anything, and Superman's like, I'm not impressed. And so he freezes the axe and breaks it down, and then it's pretty much over for Steppenwolf at that point. You get the boom tube, and that's what the scene that you see them looking up, and they're seeing Darkseid. They have the triple whammy on Steppenwolf. Aquaman impales him on his pitchfork. He tosses him up. Superman hits him towards Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman aims for the head, and she doesn't miss. And the head and the corpse of Steppenwolf falls into Apocalypse. He finally gets home. And Darkseid steps on his head. And now in the comics, Steppenwolf died because Darkseid killed him, and then he brought him back. So I suppose it's within, but he was kind of more of a slave after that, even more so than before. So maybe if they wanted to do it, the New Gods could be a Game of Thrones in space series for HBO Max if they had the right people on it. They don't right now. It sounds really awful about what's about to happen to them if it actually comes to fruition. But I would take Snyder's New Gods over that any day. So don't know that we'll get it, but what have you. The length does take its toll on you in watching it, because I was very tired while watching it. But I intend to watch it again, and I'm thinking maybe I'll watch it in parts, And I kind of wondered, it's like, yeah, maybe they I don't know what the deal was. They changed their minds and decided not to do the miniseries version of it, but what have you. Let's see. Silas Stone dies in it, but it's not just a death. It has there's a significance to it. He's trying to help them, and he marks the mother box so they're able to track it down and that sort of thing. So it all plays out, and then there you go. It wraps it up. They defeat Steppenwolf. They think they've won, but they see Darkseid, and that, of course, sets it up for what would have been the next film. There is the cool scene of Wonder Woman. She knows, I think they set it up here, and I think it's obvious from what happens, is she gets the signal from her mother, and she knows it means an invasion, and she's like, but she doesn't know quite what it is, and she goes to the site where the arrow was burning, and there's all these ruins buried beneath it, this temple, and she goes down, and there she finds the paintings and whatnot that tells the ancient story of the battle. And I guess it's explaining it right there, telling you Darkseid came to Earth and all that. And so she tells the story to Bruce Wayne about what happened. Speaking of Bruce Wayne here and the elements between the scenes between him and Wonder Woman, because Zack Snyder leaked that his original pitch idea in the storyboards in his Dallas exhibit was that he intended for a romance to have happened between Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane, that she even carries his child. She is pregnant in this. That we see a pregnancy test in her apartment. So, but I think it's much better to suggest it's Superman's child, because here there's more sort of the awkward sort of attraction type thing between Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman, and I think that's probably the better route to go. That after all these years of her heart broken of the death of Steve Trevor, and here she finds a man that in some ways might remind her, because he's a brave, courageous fighter and that sort of thing. So I thought that would be for the best, even though poor Wonder Woman is going to get her heart broken again, because Batman is destined to die at the end of this trilogy if it ever happens. So there you are. So much better. Yes, well, worth the wait. I think this could have been done much sooner. Some of the things that I was really excited about was the nightmare scenes, and we do get that. So it jumps forward in the epilogue scene, and there we get the Joker scene, and it's not the one in the trailer. That I guess they just did that. Apparently Jared Leto ad-libbed that scene. Gotta say, the trailer scene is better. It's not that the one that's in there is bad. It actually details about, yes, the Joker killed Robin, and he taunts Batman with this, and Batman says, once he's won, I'm going to kill you. Deathstroke is there. He's formed a new Justice League, because at this point Aquaman and Wonder Woman are dead. Superman has turned evil, so he's got the Flash and Cyborg, but now he needs Deathstroke. It's horror villains, and Mara is there because she wants revenge for what happened to Aquaman. Her acting is really bad here. It's brief, fortunately, but it's pretty bad. But the nightmare scene is really cool, and boy, it'd be good to see more of that in the whole movie. Mad Max meets Justice League, and that would be cool. And Superman does show up back in his original suit, but of course they're like, oh, he's evil. And then Bruce Wayne wakes up. Oh, it was a dream again. Well, this is the scene. This is probably one of the worst looking scenes, and I think it was slapped together. They'd already had a reveal of Martian Manhunter, and that General Swanwick was the Martian Manhunter all along, and he visits Lois in the form of Martha, and then we see him transform. And to me, that's more than enough. And if you would get more of him in a potential sequel, but here he shows up to talk to Bruce Wayne and tell him, I'm Martian Manhunter, and and I'm going to help out from now on. I did virtually nothing, and all the other crises going on, but here I am. Ben Affleck looks like he lost some weight here. And plus the delivery, it's just kind of silly and cheesy, and because it's almost like a comedy, and Bruce Wayne's like, okay, who are you again? I just don't take that would be his reaction to this green alien floating outside his house. So I think the scene was supposed to be the Green Lantern scene. Whether Ryan Reynolds shot anything or not, I don't know. But the word is that Warner Brothers threatened to shut the whole thing down if he didn't take that out. There is a Green Lantern in the ancient story, but they accept that. That's that ancient Green Lantern. So that's okay, fine, whatever. But they didn't want any contemporary modern Green Lantern. They got a new HBO Max Green Lantern series coming. and supposedly there's supposed to be a movie featuring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and neither one will be in the series, at least not unless like maybe cameos and stuff, but not as main characters in it. So I'm guessing that's what it was. To threaten him like that right up to the last minute, which is apparently what they did over the Geeks and Gamers thing, it's crazy. So whatever it was, it might have just been the alien Green Lanterns, which I don't see what the problem would have been if it was Tomar Rhee and Kilowog showing up, and just, that reveals that they exist. They show up and they talk to Bruce Wayne about the threat of Darkseid still exists, something like that. That would make sense, and then that's it. But apparently he did shoot something, but they said no, take that out. And so he did, and I guess he had to hastily put this Martian Manhunter scene in there. The CGI is not great, and it's too bad. And it's kind of, like I said, it's unnecessary because they'd already established who the Martian Manhunter is. I don't know. It's not very good at that point, but doesn't destroy the whole film. This film does have this epic. What's the word I'm looking for? The epic structure, I guess, of it, because it's long, and it does hearken. There's a lot of comparisons to Lord of the Rings, and I think that's kind of what it's pushing for. They're searching for there are three objects in this case, of power, and there's this ultimate villain that's in the background, kind of like how Sauron was, and so there you are. And plus, you have an ancient battle at the beginning that tells you how this got started, and stuff like that. So it's not a bad comparison. It's not as good as the Lord of the Rings films and whatnot, but still pretty damn good, and should have been the film. I don't know that it had to be 4 hours. I'm pretty sure it didn't. There's a lot of things you could probably shorten and cut down. And do that, but it still would have been pretty long. I don't know that a 2-hour cut of this would be. It's kind of like the situation with Batman versus Superman. The theatrical 2-hour cut or whatever it was it's just not good. It's not very good at all. It's still, I see it as flawed, but it works much better in the Ultimate Edition. That's the one you should watch if you're interested, but not the theatrical one. And Zack Snyder he's pretty windy. It takes a long time to tell a story. And I'm thinking, whatever, it would be interesting to see the 2:14 that he mentioned. There's this other cut that was the shortened one he was working on before he had to leave, and it had things gone that way. I guess that's the one we would have. They probably should have just gone with that, but they came up with this crazy idea to magically turn it into a Marvel movie, and it was too late to do that. Yes, it's much better. This is a bit of a triumph for Snyder, and it would seem, depending on now, it depends on how well does it do, how many subscribers did you get. Even if they do delete, they cancel after a month, it shows you there's an interest in this version of this franchise, and it would seem you would want to dip back into that. Whether Snyder directs all of this or not, certainly produces, but there's still the flaws ultimately, and this was on Warner Brothers, this business of doing it ass backwards, where you do your Infinity Wars, the first movie you do, something like that, and they needed the other movies. In the storyboards, I could see that there was some attempt at that at least the Flash would have had a solo movie by then, so that the characters, you knew them when they come together in Justice League 2. But you needed that early on. The Cyborg and the Flash and Aquaman, they needed their movies out before even Batman versus Superman. I thought, Man of Steel 2 was what you should have done, and then get your new Batman off and running and stuff like that. But they just didn't. They were trying to hurry up and catch up and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. And the only thing I could have thought was that Batman vs. Superman should have just been Dark Knight Returns, and then they say, okay, everything else happens in between Man of Steel and Dark Knight, because Dark Knight Returns is in the distant future. So, yeah, but then, there's no stakes because neither of those guys are in danger of dying before. So, I don't know. But it is what it is. In some ways, it has a more cohesive story, so I can't say that Justice League is better than Batman vs. Superman, because it is more cohesive and for what it is. I know it's not in keeping with the DC Comics origin in a lot of ways. Like I said, he nails Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, but not so much with the Flash. That's probably his weakest of the superheroes. But that being said, within the context of this adaptation, everything works and its plot points are hit and the story makes sense. So that's what it makes it a less flawed film than Batman versus Superman. There are flaws, but not enough for me to say, oh God, you don't want to see this. It's good. And also, the things about this current day and age of wokeness and whatnot, there really isn't. There's none of that in there. And it's just, there's no political sermons or anything like that. It's just, hey, we got to come together to fight this horrible enemy, and that's what they do. So, there you have it. Boy, this went long, but it's a very long movie, so my apologies. And I didn't get it all. There's other stuff to talk about in it. But as far as recommending it, yes, I do. I'm still kind of bummed about what happened right on the eve of this. But I would still rather see this version of it than the other ideas I'm seeing tossed about the future of DC movies. None of them inspire any excitement whatsoever. Zack Snyder's versions is not perfect. There's a lot of room for improvement there, but it's better than what I've seen from the other attempts at these characters. And so we'll see what happens based on if the subscriptions are really huge, and then HBO Max is thinking, well, we need some hot property here, and if this is it, then this is it. And everything else is just going to have to go by the wayside, because the multiverse thing, yeah, I know the comics do it, but it's a lot cheaper to do that in a comic book than it is to have the money they can spread around to make different versions of the same thing. So I don't think it's as likely as people think would want. So, especially who gets the main thing. So anyway, do recommend it. So there you are, at long last, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my many stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.